Today we are here to review the Pioneer Woman's pressure cooker. This is a 6-quart pressure cooker. Its finish is Linen Speckle. As you can see, it's got this really pretty design on it. And we're going to tell you all the things you need to know to cook in it, a couple things to watch out for. So let's get started. I'm Jen.
And I'm Barbara.
And we're pressure cooking today. So first, we always start off our product reviews with get to know the parts, get to know how to assemble and clean your pressure cooker. You've got it out of the box for the first time. So we'll get in with this. This is the lid. The lid has your just a standard vent and seal switch, which is nice. You've got your float valve and your steam release right there. The underside, this is your float valve. To clean it, I like to use my finger to push the float valve in, and then I'll take this off and let the float valve fall right into my hand.
Yeah, so that little mini rubber gasket is important. It holds the float valve in place. So just take care not to lose that part, because if you don't have that part, it's not going to work.
And then you've got this is a cover that keeps food if you're cooking something that foams like a pasta or oats. It keeps food from going up into the steam release valve and getting stuck. When they're new, they could be tricky to get on and off, but you just pull it off, and then you would wash, when you wash the lid, anything under there, wash this, and then I always put it right back on. I'm a little worried about losing things. And then the pressure cooker gasket's this one's a little bit different than a lot of other models. Like the Instant Pot has a thin metal bar that goes around the sealing ring, and you have to tuck the sealing ring into that metal bar. This one, the gasket has little T nubbies, and you just line your nubs up and you push them in each of their spots. And you want to make sure that when you're pushing in, none of the other ones came out. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's the lid. And then we've got, this is an aluminum pot with a nonstick ceramic coating on it. Just kind of standard. The bottom of the pot is domed. So like when you put butter in or something and it's warm, you often will have to pick it up and kind of
just swirl it around
because the butter will run to the edges. Number one thing is food only goes in this inner pot. When I am cooking and I'm in a hurry, sometimes I'll put a wooden spoon over the top to make sure that I don't be going too fast and dump my food into this housing. This is just your standard pressure cooker housing. It's got a little, bouncy thing. I don't know what it's called. You put your pot on that, and one of the safety features of an electric pressure cooker is it can raise and lower the pot to make sure that it stays in the right pressure cooking
position.
Yes. So this is the heating element in there. If food does accidentally get on there, like you've got a pot full of spaghetti sauce and you're taking it out and a little bit falls on there, wait for it to cool, and then you can wipe it off with a damp rag, maybe with a little tiny bit of soap bubbles on there, but you don't want to get soapy in there. Definitely don't ever want to fill this up with water. It would not be good.
Right.
And then the pressure cooker came with a little
rice paddle,
metal trivet,
and a little rice measure.
Yep.
So when Instant Pots came out, they usually came with these things.
Okay, so we've kind of talked all of how to put it together, how to clean it. This one, just soap and water in your sink, dry it out with you don't want to use a scratchy sponge or anything to clean it out, a steel wool, just a gentle sponge or dish rag.
Right, so with any non-stick cooking pot, you want to use plastic utensils. You don't want to use anything
silicone,
metal to scratch it up.
You want that coating to stay in place.
So another question we get about is this in the back, this little
condensation catcher.
So there's has this little knob on it to help you get in and out. But rarely do you get anything. There's a little hole here, so if some liquid gets in here, it can drain down into this, and you can dump it out easily.
Yeah, it's still something we like to check and rinse out and every time we use it, but it's rare. Again, foods that foam, like when I'm cooking oatmeal with steel cut oats, that's when I notice this kind of getting full. So let's talk choosing a button. This is a big topic for the Pioneer Woman pressure cooker pot. lock it in place. So as you see, when you put the lid on, you've got the start button and then all the other buttons come up. And if you wait too long, it will go dark again and you'll have to hit the start button again. So these are the buttons. You've got your start, your cancel, and you've got like adjusters, but you'll notice there's no like custom pressure cook button.
So one of the downsides of this pressure cooker that we don't love is it doesn't have a manual or a pressure cook button. You have to use one of the preset functions. And they have preset times. So for like the steam button, which is the lowest, you have a range of 5 minutes to 35 minutes that you could set it. But steam is the lowest pressure cooking time.
It doesn't go below 5 minutes, which is unfortunate because like a lot of our chicken and rice recipes, if you dice up chicken and you cook white rice in the same pot, that's a 3 minute, 4 minute cook time if you're at higher altitudes.
So what you'd have to do is set a separate timer, and then when this counts down to 2 minutes, then you would have to cancel the cycle and then set another timer for 10 minutes.
For your release method.
Exactly. So that is one of the downsides that you have to be aware of if you have this machine.
But if you love the look of this machine, they've got matching like air fryers and toaster ovens. And if you just want your whole kitchen to be this style and look, you can absolutely still make any recipe in this machine. You just have to kind of adjust it a little bit. So first off, should we talk about sauté and then we'll demo how to pressure cook?
Sure.
Okay, so the sauté button, let's see. So it went dark again, so you have to hit start to wake it up. And then brown sauté is the button we need. So you hit brown sauté, hit start, and it does that little like circle snake thing. It reminds me of the old like game Snake, right, where it gets longer. And it'll do that until it's preheated. When you're sautéing, you want to do it with the lid off, so we'll take that out. One feature I do like about the lid is it's got these little bumper nubbins so that it makes sure that your pressure cooker is not too close to the back of your like cabinet wall. Gives it a little space to breathe. So this will make the little snake until it has preheated. Once you preheat the pot, that's when you want to add your oil and start cooking. If you add your oil to a cold pot, the oil like
can get overheated, and then by the time you add your ingredients, it'll sputter and
and it's almost can get like smoky, like if it's like a canola oil, you taste it and it's not good. Sometimes with butter, I'll add it when I could feel like, you can, obviously I wouldn't touch it, it's hot now, but you can feel the heat radiating from the bottom of the pot. So if I could feel that it's almost ready, I might add my butter to get started melting it so that the butter is perfectly melted by the time it's preheated all the way. Okay. So we wanted to show you how, like broccoli, if we wanted to steam broccoli in our Instant Pot, we usually use a 0 minute cook time, which basically means as soon as the pot reaches pressure, that's when you want to cancel the pressure cook setting and do you use your quick release or do you 5 minute release it?
No, you definitely have to quick release it with broccoli because it overcooks quickly.
Yep. So we wanted to show you, and this would be the same procedure you would use if you had a 3 minute cook time. If you had, I know that some of the recipes that come with this have like a 3 minute cook time and they say select pressure cook. So you would just use whatever setting is close. So if you're cooking something with a short pressure cook time, use the steam button. If you're using something with a longer pressure cook time, I think the longest they have is the 75 minute soup one. So if you're cooking like a roast that needs to cook for like 80 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever, then you would do one full setting, set an alarm on your watch or your phone to come back as soon as that pressure cook thing and cancel and then restart it. It's not the most convenient method, but it absolutely works if you were given this as a gift or you just really love the color scheme. It also comes in a more florally, typical Pioneer Woman floral. You can absolutely cook any recipe in this. So
Okay, so let's get our broccoli and we'll be back. Okay, so we're ready to steam the broccoli. Let's go ahead and add 1 cup of water.
Which is, when you're pressure cooking, that's kind of the general recommended amount.
And then you're going to need a steamer basket that helps keep the food up away from the water, and so it'll steam it.
If it's in the water, it boils it. Up and away from the water, it steams it.
So I like this OXO one that has collapsible legs. Jen prefers the basket style.
I have an avocado one that's a silicone basket, so
Might be a better fit for this, but just be careful when you're putting it in and out because you don't want to scratch that. And then go ahead and add your broccoli.
nice and distributed evenly. And then we'll lock our lid in place. So it's got a nice little arrow here that you line up. Doing it backwards is trickier. So you line up your arrows and you turn it from the unlocked to the locked position.
And then you press the start button, and we're going to do steam and move it down to the shortest one possible, which is 5. Press start.
Okay, and you'll notice the lid is it went to the sealing position when we put it on, which is a nice feature. You just want to get in the habit of double checking that, because if it's venting, then it will never reach pressure, and that's a little bit frustrating. So because we can't just set it to 0 minutes and then have it release the pressure, we're going to stay right by it.
Yeah, because you'll want to see as soon as it shows the time, then you'll know it's at pressure, and then you can press cancel and vent it to do a quick pressure release.
Yep.
So we'll just wait for it to come to pressure. It'll take a couple minutes
Because
for
you have
the
to water
to come to a boil.
And then as soon as it comes to a boil, it doesn't immediately reach pressure because it needs this float valve it needs the steam from the boiling water to push that float valve up so it can build pressure in the machine. And so it takes like a minute or maybe 2 after this float valve comes up to actually reach the full pressure and turn on the time. So
Right, so while we say that it cooks for 0 minutes, obviously it's cooking while the pressure is building.
yeah, and just like a pot of water on the stove, you don't count the time it takes for like the pot of water to come to a boil before you do the noodles cook time, right? Like the noodles cook for 9 to 11 minutes.
Yeah, if you were adding pasta, if you're making spaghetti, you wouldn't count the time that it took the water to come to a boil.
So that's why all our recipes will list the cook time on our recipes is the actual time in the pot, like the time you would program on your pressure cooker. And then we have like an other thing that includes the amount of time it takes to come to pressure, the amount of time that it is for the natural pressure release. So you can access all of our recipes on our website, pressurecookingtoday.com. So I don't know if the mic's picking it up. You can kind of see the float valves jiggling around in there. That means that water has come to a boil and it's very close. So all of this is totally normal. There's a little bit of steam coming up. Again, like it's letting that steam out until there's enough steam that pushes that float valve up. All right, and there the float valve went up, so it's just going to be another minute or 2 before this timer ticks over. You can hear the water in the bottom of the pot boiling too.
Okay, so the time showed up. We'll press cancel and go ahead and release the pressure. Okay, the float valve dropped, so we can go ahead and open up the lid.
And as you can see, it came out in a big jet that kind of went a little bit diagonal. So you want to make sure that there's no cabinets or pendant lights, is that what they're called, above it when you release the steam. So there's going to be water droplets on the bottom, so I like to shake that.
Okay.
This model does not have lid fins, so you're going to have to put your lid, I like to just put it in the sink.
And then we can just go ahead and put that broccoli in our bowl, and it's ready to get maybe some salt and pepper, a little butter if you like. But look at that, it's perfectly cooked broccoli. 0 minutes is always just perfect.
So again, that's how you would pressure cook in the Pioneer Woman 6-quart pressure cooker.
It does have some challenges, not one that we absolutely fell in love with, but we do think the housing is fun and that it goes with some of the other ones that matching. So if that's something that's important to you,
you can absolutely make this work. So we talked about releasing pressure. We talked about pressure cook. Do we want to talk about the slow cooks, yogurt, sous vide buttons? All of those buttons run a set cook time. They don't actually know whether there's broccoli or a roast or yogurt in the pot. It just runs a pre-programmed
function that works, yeah.
set of time. And so all of those buttons are great. I know you'll have to test it out on your own. We haven't slow cooked in this one, but I know that because a lot of slow cookers, the heating element goes around and below, whereas in a pressure cooker, the heating element is just below. You have to adjust your slow cook times a little bit. And then the keep warm button is just like it says, once the pressure cook setting is released and that you release all the pressure, it keeps your pot at like 120 degrees, something like that, so that the contents of your pot, like you go back for seconds or whatever, that's still nice and warm.
Yeah, so we are going to do a slow cook video down the road, and we're going to do working on a sous vide one, so those will be separate videos that we can do for you.
So if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to help you with this. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.